Right, folks, thank you. So this next session is going to be on AI. It's AI for GRC. Now, I do want to set the expectations here, right? So we're not there to solve world hunger, although you might have heard such things about AI. But we want to be very practical in terms of what we are presenting, specifically in AI for GRC. So I do welcome my co-presenter, Tom. Tom is the head of AI from our technology partner, Kinetics. So Tom is one of those rare individuals, right, with a very strong academic background, very diverse. So he's an MBA. I guess he did his MBA. He had all these great ideas, but he didn't find anybody who could actually implement. So he figured he might as well do his PhD. So he is a combination of MBA and PhD. Welcome, Tom.
Glad to be here. It's an honor to present what Kinetics is all about. So Kinetics has been around for 12 years now. We are an AI product company with our own AI, explainable AI and data platform. We work with clients in New York, London, and Dubai. It's buy-side, sell-side, regulators. And today we want to present our joint use cases for GRC.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So we'll start off with what we have in MetricStream core platform and product with respect to AI. And like I said, we want to keep this very practical, right, in terms of what we can actually do with the data we have, with the appetite the end users have in terms of application of AI, specifically in this domain. So we'll discuss four use cases and all. Now, yesterday in our product launch, we talked about MetricStream Intelligence. This is our AI ML platform. Now, like I said, so we have been around for more than 15 years, and we got GRC. We know all the workflows, or at least now we have the best practice workflows for GRC baked into the system. Now, what we've been doing in the last 2 years is to see where are those areas within these workflows where we can infuse intelligent automation and augmentation. So now that's led to the creation of this platform. It's called MetricStream Intelligence. This is right now built on the AWS cloud. AWS provides us with the right level of security and scalability that's needed for AI models. Now, like I said, AI for us is specifically GRC driven, and all the models that we produce in-house and the models that we integrate with are related to compliance and risk. Now, one of the things we realized, right, so AI is a fast growing field, and a lot of our enterprise customers also have their in-house AI teams, and so do a lot of our partners, right, with very niche capabilities. So we built our framework in such a way that, yes, out of the box, we produce models, but there are certain areas where our customers may have a team that already has a model in place, or we partner with our partners to plug in their models into our workflows. So that's our mantra around how our platform is built. When we looked at all of our GRC workflows, specifically around risk management, we see that there are different areas of risk management, starting from risk identification and assessment to risk mitigation and treatment to reporting. And we see that there are specific use cases that could be applied into each one of these workflows. And that's what we're going to be doing today, where we'll look at specific examples across these different stages of the GRC lifecycle. So I'm going to start off with risk identification and assessment here, right, which is that first step, which involves the organizational setup, trying to figure out, what are all the processes, what are the lines of businesses, the risk control, so on and so forth. Now, a key to our AI is building what we call as a knowledge graph. Now, in the GRC space, we see there are a lot of these objects, and there is an inherent relationship that has to exist from a business standpoint. That includes your lines of businesses, including what are all the assets or the processes that those lines of businesses are responsible for. What are those risks that may arise from these processes, or what are the controls that mitigate, or the risk events, the issues, so on and so forth. Now, this knowledge is important for us to have any meaningful AI application in those spaces, right? So the core backbone of what we first do is build out this knowledge graph. and use this for any sort of AI modeling or prediction on top. Now this is a representation of the enterprise knowledge graph. Like I said, all the data objects across the organization and the enterprise is modeled as the graph, and all of these linkages are built in. Now, this video should run by itself. I guess Murphy's law had to kick in some time. It isn't moving. If you could get the video moving, folks. Oh, it's moving already there. Sorry about that. All right. So as you can see here, once it recycles. So this is the enterprise knowledge graph that we built out of the box. Now you can zoom in into different areas of business, right? So you can look at what it means from a compliance standpoint. And in this use case, we are talking about a specific regulatory feed. Now when a regulatory feed comes in, businesses perform their business impact analysis to see what this impacts. Now that's where we use the AI model to see where in this whole graph should this particular regulatory change or a feed fit in. And we use AI to perform that impact analysis. And our idea in this use case, you'll see when the feed came in, we used this mechanism for AI to go inspect this whole graph and see where it should reside in the graph and thereby identify the impact areas. Now what we see as a use case is a lot of times as these regulatory changes happen, our users go in there, perform this impact analysis manually, but with AI, we are able to bootstrap that first step and provide a bunch of recommendations for the user to then come and opine on. So moving on, the next use case is around risk mitigation and treatment. Right now, this is when you, let's say, perform a risk assessment, you find out there are issues, you log the issues, and you figure out what the problems are, and if there are inherent themes or patterns. Now, this is, again, another area where, with the amount of data that we have, we are able to also deploy AI. Again, it also works in this whole augmentation mode, right? So the system does a bunch of heavy lifting, and then it presents the results to the end user for the expert opinion. As you can see in this example, you use the issues workflow in the system to start logging an issue, and as the user starts typing up the issue, the system automatically starts recommending the issue classification, right? It says whether this is an inherent issue, it's an aberration, and it also is able to look at the historic data to see are there any other related issues. Now once it does this, right, you have a list of issues, we are then able to look at these historical issues to see if there are patterns and also look for sub-patterns, right? So sub-themes like, or maybe a bunch of issues are related to missing KYC data or related to PEP, what have you. And if that is the case, why is it happening? Is it because of a specific control failure that's systemically occurring? If so, can we then launch a control test from that point on? So all of these steps, right? So although it seems very logical and step by step, all of this is still being done by the users manually. With AI, we are able to bootstrap that activity within our system. So with this, I'll hand over to Tom for the next use case.
Sure, thank you. So how to actually implement that workflow? So MetricStream and Kinetics were working on that AI-enhanced workflow. So it all starts with monitoring, right? So we want to keep track of all regulatory changes. We don't want to miss anything, right? Especially anything that really impacts our business. So somehow using AI, right, we want to extract from those regulations what's important to be able to analyze that faster. That is something that you can already achieve with MetricStream, by the way. And then the fun part begins. So you have all those obligations captured, right? But you want to know what you should focus on, right? And what actions to take, right? Does it match with your existing policies? Should you come up with a new policy? Should you change your current policies? So all of that with proper usage of artificial intelligence and machine learning can be actually personalized. So the system could and will understand your risk profiles. As someone said earlier today, it should be about optimizing risk, not only about risk mitigation. So all of that is basically detecting patterns, right? But then, the previous session was actually music to my ears because I couldn't agree more that it should be all transparent, explainable, and to be able to make decisions based on machine learning outputs. You have to understand, how that recommendation, next best action was actually derived. So that's why to us that human in the loop AI is very, very important. So it's also a human AI interaction. So you want to be able to accept or reject recommendations in an informed way. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't be interacting with black boxes, right? It shouldn't be, you should do this because I say so. Good AI should provide rational explanations, should provide that level of transparency. It's really important, especially, any GRC use cases. And to me, it's like no-brainer that every AI should work like that. By the way, by my definition of AI is a system that can mimic human intelligence, so it can be rule-based. It doesn't need to be machine learning. Machine learning is the system that uses past examples, historical data to train a model. But that's my definition. And there's, with AI applications, there's another challenge. So how to effectively apply AI without introducing additional risk. So it's not only AI for GRC, it's also GRC for AI. Just to quote one part from the proposal of EU AI Act. It's very important, it will be very important next year. High-risk AI systems shall be designed and developed in such a way to ensure that their operation is sufficiently transparent to enable users to interpret the system's output and to use it appropriately. So, explainable is very important. AI should be responsible, but there are many related terms to that. So an explainable AI is an artificial intelligence whose actions can be easily understood by humans and therefore can be trusted. That is critical to provide effective human-in-the-loop kind of solution, right? You need to interact with AI, so you need to understand the whole process. It has to be transparent, it has to be interpretable. So with that in mind, we are jointly working on a few use cases.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So folks, like you saw, right? So across the different life cycles of risk management, there are several areas where AI could be applied. Now we just went through a few examples, but there are several that we have worked on that are in production, that are GA'd with the product, and several that we are working on. And like we always believe, right? So AI is a vast field, it's quickly developing. And we do realize some of our technology partners also have niche areas. So wherever it makes sense, we partner. And wherever it makes sense to organically build, we organically build. Now here are a sample of use cases that we've identified which could benefit from AI, specifically around regulatory obligation determination, which is going through a list of regulations, the big fat PDF that usually gets published without much tagging, and identifying what are those regulations in there, and what are obligations in those regulations. Or using NLP to natural language processing to summarize the data so one doesn't have to read tomes of documentation with very little meaning coming out of all of those. Now, similarly, we also find AI from applications of AI in the audit and AI assurance space. Again, the idea is not to go through each one of these, but just give you guys a flavor of the type of use cases that exist in the GRC space. Anything you want to add, Tom?
Sure. So I just want to emphasize the fact that it should be about business impact always. So that's why we focus on that, one word, orange circle, purpose, and everything else is kind of secondary. Of course, we need to have data support, but with our proprietary Explainable AI platform, we actually don't need that many data samples. So that's a very unique aspect of our XAI engine. Depending on the use case, then we select proper type of modeling that will, result in, impactful way. And what else? I mean, I really encourage every one of you to automate whatever you can.
Excellent. All right. So, folks, that's all we have here. Any questions? Got the mic? Hey, can you get the mic up here?
Thanks, Raghu. One question on the regulation to obligation mapping. One of the slides actually talked about using AI to determine obligations and maybe like importance of the obligation as well, must do, should do. So is that something powered by AI? I'm just curious, like how does that happen? Because regulation is probably there, but obligation can be specific for a company and may matter to some, may not matter to others. So how does AI actually power that?
Sure. So, yeah, regulations are obviously client agnostic. Then obligations that depends on how you your workflow policies are for sure client specific, right? And AI based on previous mappings can learn all this from all those patterns and recommend new mappings. So it's basically a system produces bespoke model, automatically produces bespoke model for each client. So yeah, AI can help to solve that for sure.
Yes.
It has been addressed, yes. So especially, when, so it's one thing with AI, right? If I ask you what is 2 plus 2, you'll say it's 4. But when it comes to a statistical system, well, it's 4.5 or 3.9, what are you happy with, right? So there is always that need for a continuous improvement, right? So yes, you want to reduce the error rate, you want the system obviously to be intelligent, but you want to also reduce the error rate. So to your question, is it solved? Yes, we do have a baseline version of that model, but you always want to improve. Now you see in some domains, some cases it may work really well. You may get 2 plus 2 is 4. In some domains it may be a little bit far off because maybe there isn't enough patterns for it to learn from.
It's always continuous process anyway, right? Because the world is constantly changing. Organizations have to adapt. So, therefore, AI has to adapt with an organization. So new data, concept drift, new model, and yeah, that works.
So I'm very interested in a regulatory report. Currently it's a lot of work. So and it also depends on the regions. Some method is different. Some regions have to still need to, submit the report by template, And advanced cases, you just give the data to the regulators, raw data to regulators, and the regulator is like, create their own report, So how automate, regulatory report, using the MetricStream, although, there's a different method by regions.
Right. See, again, it goes back to the context, right? So not every AI system is independent, standing alone. AI learns in some context. So which is where, if there are prior examples to learn from, to say that, hey, this is what that original data looked like, and this is what that formatted regulatory report looks like, then that gives us some samples to learn from. So that's where, the AI system doesn't stand alone. So it needs some training examples. Now there are some cases, the issue use case, for example, right? So where you don't need that sort of painstaking training data to be provided to AI. We just use the interconnections that exist, like we showed in that the knowledge graph, right? So that provides a basis for us to make the right recommendations. But for a few other use cases, specifically the ones that you're mentioning, it may need some training data for the AI system to learn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? All right.
Great. Thank you very
So,
much,
thank you
guys.
for-
Thank you.